Welcome to another broadcast of Truth Be Told, where we believe in experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and with me this time we have the one and only Captain Ron and the all-seeing eye, Dean Ryan. And today we're going to have a legend. I said a legend on Truth Be Told. We have the honor to have Jordan Maxwell join us live from the Conscious Life Expo. Jordan, who has been an inspiration for majority of alternative media such as George Norrie, Jimmy Church, and the list goes on and on and on. Jordan is a prominent researcher, independent scholar in the field of the occult and religious philosophies. This started back in 1959. And that was just the beginning of his journey. And in his career, he has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, produced and appeared in numerous television shows, documentaries, including 3 two-hour specials for CBS TV, and his work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, and their symbols has fascinated audiences all around the world. And it's a great pleasure to introduce the one and only legendary Jordan Maxwell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Truth Be Told. We have a full show here. We have Dean Ryan, Tony Sweet, Captain Ron, and with us a special guest today, Jordan Maxwell, which we're very happy to have with us today.
Yes.
Welcome, Jordan.
Yay! Got a live audience, too.
Live audience right here in our...
live LA audience from Burbank.
Yeah, absolutely.
And which one of us is lit up?
Tony,
Well, sorry, depending what you're referring to.
Oh, okay.
So, Jordan, why don't we start
with
with...
a paid audience. It's a live audience.
I wish I was.
Let's duck into Jordan here and start off with him. Let's see what he's got going right now. What are you working on now, Jordan? Let's tell us.
What brings you here to the
brings
Conscious
us-
Life
yes,
Expo? How about that?
That's perfect.
I got 2 new videos two subjects which I have been interested in for years. I've finally got an opportunity to finish 2 videos on those 2 subjects. One is called Cosmocratorus, or Cosmocrat, and it's cosmos means the world, and crat means the rulers, like Democrat, plutocrat. So crat means rulers, and cosmos means world. So it's a video I've done on world rulers, who they really are and what they're really doing. And it's a far, far bigger story than you have even imagined. It's far bigger and far more scarier than you have even thought. I mean, a lot of people are seeing a lot of stuff, but you're not seeing the real stuff. And that's what I've been very interested in all my life, is the rest of the story that we're not being told.
It's us too. We're here chasing the truth. We call it Truth Be Told for a reason, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to see.
That's
too.
very Paul Harvey, too.
Yeah.
The rest.
That's
of
right,
the
the
story.
rest of the story.
Well, what Jordan, in full disclosure, actually Jordan is at the Conscious Life Expo here at the Hilton for a particular reason. You want to talk about what's going on
Well, I'm
here?
not really sure. I think...
As you can tell, we rehearsed before this interview.
No, I know that I'm being given an award, like a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah. I'll clap for that.
Yeah. Nice.
Great.
Well, at 76, I figure if I'm going to get it, it should better be soon.
What was the other video you were telling us you had too?
The other one is called something to Revealing an Ancient Mystery. And it's the mystery of the real foundations, the actual, in fact, foundations of Christianity, where it actually, in fact, came from, and how it got started and why it is what it is today. And it has no bearing whatsoever on a man dying on a cross. It has nothing whatsoever to do with what Christianity today portrays as the basis for Christianity.
Where did you find this? Where did you come up with this?
It's all over in your face everywhere. All you
Is that
gotta
right?
do, go to a library and look up ancient sun worship. The one subject that really opens up the key that opens the whole subject is it's called the there's a word for it in the Roman Empire. It was called the cult of Ra, but it's called I can't remember the term right now, but the idea it was called the Imperial Sun Cult of Rome. And the Caesars all had to abide by the laws of the imperial sun cult, which incidentally, a lot of people do not know, Caesars in Rome were not the power of Rome. The Caesars Rome represented the power. The power was behind them. The guys who run the empire, yeah, that's the bosses.
I was going to say, it sounds like something what our culture is
exactly
today.
right.
Actually, Jordan, I want to segue in talking about this very popular new pope who's an open Jesuit, and for years and decades you've talked about how the pope is really just kind of the front man, but it's the dark pope who's running things, and evidently George Lucas kind of references that in Star Wars.
That's right.
With Darth Vader's not really running the Empire, it's the Sith. So maybe you can tell the audience, what you mean by that.
Money. It's money. We're talking about political power and money. So the guys who control the finances control the government. And so if you're in a position to have that kind of political power that says who lives and who dies, I don't like this guy, whack him. There are all those kind of people in this country who can have you killed. And in America, if you know something you're not supposed to know, and they find out that you know, you're living very dangerously.
Are you afraid of putting these videos out? Or
Oh,
anything
yes,
like that?
yes, I certainly am.
Really?
But on the other hand, it's so overwhelmingly obvious, and I feel a responsibility that so many people are talking about what's going on today in America and whether it's good or bad and it's terrible and it's this and that. And I would just like to say to the world, why don't you actually find out what's going on?
It's
You're
never what
gonna
you think it
find-
is, and the three of us have been chasing the truth, and that's what we talk about every week. We want to find out what's really going on.
Yeah,
And usually it's the money. That seems to be the bottom line
that's
answer.
what I said.
So
Bottom line.
who would you be more afraid of, the church or the banks? Or does it all go back just to the same thing?
It all goes back to the same
Yeah.
people. But the same people who run the churches run the banks and the insurance companies. Banks are nothing more than the front for the insurance companies. And the insurance companies are the real power based on the 14th Amendment. And the reason why is because the 14th Amendment was able to do something that the United States Constitution couldn't do. You see, after the Civil War in America, there was no longer, officially, there was no longer a United States of America. The Republic no longer existed after the Civil War, because the term United States implied that the states were united. Well, we weren't united. Almost 1 million men died in battle between brothers, between states. So we're not united. We kill each other. We still want to kill each other. And the South today,
It's interesting you say that the insurance company, if you go to any city in America and you go downtown, the biggest, tallest, greatest building is an insurance company. Am I
Exactly.
right?
That's right. So the same people who gave you international banking, they're called the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars, going all the way back to the 8th and 9th and 10th century AD, gave us what we call today Christianity, Judaism, Islam, the whole Muslim religion is nothing more than a Knights Templar concoction. So the same people who gave you the Catholic Church, the Christianity, Judaism, Islam, are the same people who gave you your banks and your international education colleges and universities, are the same people who own your government and your state and your county and your city council. It's a very old establishment.
Well, I did a show about a year ago. A gentleman, he was a Knights Templar, and he wrote a book about the history of it. And I found it fascinating that the Knights Templar was pretty much formed, the Christianity and Catholic Church, but they were there to protect the Pope, and then the Pope turned on them, which made them really create Masons.
Yeah,
Freemasons.
and the reason why it turned on them is because they were so wealthy.
Yeah.
And so powerful and so wealthy, they got to a point where they would say, why do we have to go and kiss the feet of the Pope and get his orders? We control everything. We got the guns. We got the money. I'd like to see the Pope come crawl over here and kiss my shoes. And so now there's it's like any other time in history when there's gang, powerful secret societies like the mafia. Obviously, they're going to be infighting inside as to who's the real boss here. You know, the east-west, the west side, or the east coast. And so that's what's going on. There's wars between these criminal syndicates, criminal operations.
Now, that's interesting, Jordan, because in the green room backstage, you were talking about how Trump is now the new dawn of the machine, of the American machine, how he's been put in place to clean it all up, go after the Pizzagate pedophiles, go after the criminal elements of the CIA. Can you talk upon what is taking place right now with the transition?
Well, I've always been political. I don't really care about the politics one way or the other, because I know the bottom line is there's never been a religious movement in the world that wasn't political. There's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't religious. So I understand religion and politics is just the left and the right hand, you know. And there's, of course, to operate, that's where you have to operate as a human, with two hands, right? And so on our national symbol for our country is the bald eagle. The eagle only has two wings, left wing and right wing, right? So that's all we've got. We've got a two-party system, left wing and a right wing. But we forget that the wings of the eagle are controlled by the brain. Yeah, the brain controls both sides. Right. And both sides can fly well and do well as long as the brain is coordinating things, you know.
Ironically, that's on our money, of course, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's a whole story about money. And the whole idea of the Knights Templars, as I said, was a Catholic Masonic order called Knights Templars. They were the people, they were the guys who gave us what we call international banking. They were like a secret society. It's like the mafia. It's like the mob. And they appoint each and every city a head of their operation. And all those heads get together somewhere back in New York and sit down and talk business. And we've seen that in movies. And so it was agreed upon by the Knights Templars, by each one of the members, that if you, as a member, write out how much money you're putting into the pot, into our pot here, we're putting money in together, you tell me how much money you're putting in and give me that slip. So that when you come to visit me on the other coast, when you come to visit me, you got that much money. That's for sure. You put that much in and you got it. And so that way I protect your money where you protect mine. And so they became known as the international bankers. Now it's interesting that the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue, the corporate headquarters for Internal Revenue and the Internal Revenue is in Puerto Rico. Pirates of the Caribbean. ABC, purely a fascist communist operation in America's ABC Disney. Incredible in your face when you see the symbols and the words and the terms they're using. It's like anything else, like a CIA or FBI guy who's studied all his life one mob family and how they operate and what their colors mean and what the symbols mean and what the terms mean. And then put him out there and say, all right, pick out a mob group out there. They'll say, well, there's one right there. He's using every word that they have ever used. That's the guy right there. And this guy over here with this company using the same symbols, same words, same terms. Hey, it's pattern recognition. And before you know it, you become to find out that this whole thing has been operating for a long time right in front of you, and you never saw it coming. It's called
you think it's as strong today as it ever was? You think it's still as...
Oh, it's far more powerful today.
Wow.
Do you think there's ever a way to even break that?
No.
No.
I see no possible way.
And it's global, for sure.
Yeah, it's global for sure. No possible way.
No, you mentioned earlier about a lot of these movements being co-opted or not as organic as people think. So right now, the Women's March and kind of the new age of feminism is kind of the hot topic, and it's making women choose sides. That if you're not for the Women's March, well, you're anti-woman, or if you know, vice versa. How organic is this? Is it really just a replica of the Rockefeller feminism movement of the 60s, or is it something far more perverse, or is it really just as genuine as CNN tells us it is?
Well, that just reminds me, the whole subject reminds me of GMO, the GMO foods, genetically modified, because why do we have GMO foods? I've heard some extraordinary scholars talking about GMO foods, and they're proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that the GMO foods are connected to something far bigger than what you think. It's GMO humanity.
That's right.
Genetically modified humans. And we know that they've been playing around with this since Nazi Germany. Even before Germany, they were playing around with the idea of crossbreeding animals with humans.
Well, don't they have that in the Egyptian in the Egyptians, right? They had the heads of the animals.
Of course,
on.
that's
so
right.
It goes back that far, right?
Goat
Goes
heads.
back into the ancient world.
Goats.
But we know that they were, in point of fact, what was his name? Ivan Pavlov and A.R. Luria. Luria and Pavlov were working with the dog, the Pavlonian dog thing. They were genetically wanting to modify the whole human structure on Earth to be able to have all the human creatures on the Earth react the same way all around the world. So all they have to do now, instead of trying to control different countries, 180 different countries of the world, put them all into one country, United Nations, and then teach everyone how to think. Everyone has to be in, what's the word that the communists use today in Washington?
Obedient?
You have to be in compliance.
Compliance, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what Adolf Hitler said. You must be in compliance with Berlin. Because if you're not, and we hear that you have family in Berlin, you have a mother and a sister in Berlin, do you?
Jeez.
Yeah. And you're out talking about the government and bad-mouthing Adolf Hitler, you won't be doing it too long.
So what about people like ourselves that speak out against all that?
Yeah, well, as long as people, I've been told by military guys, very high in the military, talk with me, and they said, as long as people are hearing you, your government doesn't care. There's free speech. Talk about anything you want. They don't care. It's the question in government's mind is how many people are listening to you? Because
Thankfully, our numbers are nice and low, so we're not worried about that. Thank God. We get those hits up.
I can count them
you're
on one
okay if
hand.
you only got 6 people who, and 2 of them are employed by you.
Ron's very compliant, isn't he?
No, but the point
Being
being
very
is that
compliant.
the point being is very simple. That if a lot of people are hearing you, so what? People hear all kinds of stuff. But if we start watching you becoming a Martin Luther King,
Okay. Same as well.
It's so fringy, they probably don't care because it's a small percentage of people that get to be in the know that this is going on.
And once those people start really coming together
Yeah.
and they're not hearing you, they're listening.
Well, that's what happened to Martin Luther King. I mean, way back before he was even assassinated. I mean, they thought him as
He's a threat.
Yeah.
Why? Because like Joe Pesci told De Niro in Casino, you better go get your own army, pal. Yeah, if you're going to go over me, you better get an army, because I already got one.
What are your thoughts on Kennedy? Do you think Kennedy was...
Oh, Kennedy was whacked because of things he said, and who put him into office. There's been a lot of talk about that. I mean, because he obviously had Chicago. Look at, if there's one subject that the whole world obviously knows something about, and that is Chicago being the center for organized crime in America. And all you have to do is go back in newspapers and look at the history. A lot of that kind of thing is done now on the web. You can go back into history and type 1930 Chicago. You see Al Capone and what's his name?
Bugsy.
Roger Toohey and Al Capone and all these names of these gangsters that were killing each other for power and money on the streets of Chicago. Chicago has always been known, even as far back in the very founding of Illinois, has been known to be a center for organized crime, period. End of sentence. Now, if you, a lot of people do not know, but it's right there in the history books, and go on the web and look for it. You'll find all kinds of newspaper articles, magazine articles about the connection with the organized crime in Chicago, the underworld, and the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party used the mafia. They used the Al Capone. They used them because they want political power in a particular neighborhood. Who can guarantee you that? Capone can.
Right.
So how much are we talking about?
Yeah.
You know, you give me a couple of million, and people will vote for you. I'll guarantee it.
Which is funny now. You know, they're talking about sending in the feds into Chicago with the gangs now.
The highest murder rate ever?
Yeah, I just think that's kind of fascinating.
What did I say?
Right.
Are you paying attention?
And my point being is, where was Obama from? Huh?
Chicago.
I thought it was Kenya.
No, Donald said that wasn't true.
Oh, I thought Kenya is Chicago. But you know, we should have you on more often. We could go on for days. And clearly, you have a legacy that has touched a lot of us in the alternative media, especially young people. And tomorrow, I'm giving you the Lifetime Achievement Award with my colleague Sean Stone, and I cannot tell you what an honor it is in my career and my life to do it. And
Well, I appreciate that,
really
and I
means a lot
particularly
to me.
want to thank you because I don't think there's, I mean, it's not hurting me one way or the other, but I think that there's a lot of people who don't remember, you know, the old guys who were doing it a long time ago.
In the library with no internet, that was a lot of hours
Yeah.
too.
Right, that's when it was real work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Click,
Actually
click
had
on the
to-
phone.
You had calluses
That was
just from turning
the
the
hard
page.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to UCLA every morning, you know, and when you spend your life in libraries, roaming around the country and all the major depositories, federal and state depositories and libraries, and photocopying documents that you're not supposed to have and putting them together and sending them to other organizations around the world. I used to send all kinds of documents to Israel, to Germany. I'd get stuff from the big corporations would send me stuff, so it was kind of like tit and hat. I give them documents that they're not supposed to have, and they give me stuff that I would never have. And so I've made a lot of friends around the world, especially in Israel. And so when people say, because of my talking about religion, that I'm anti-Semitic, my mother was Jewish. I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just telling you what happened. If you can't handle it, you know, like in the movie, you know, the kid says, the old guy said to the kid, you know, what do you want from me? And Tom Cruise said, I want the truth. Remember, he said, you can't handle the truth. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
In America today, the biggest single problem we have, and I can name you about 50 major problems, so, but the biggest problem we have in America today is, of course, the single biggest problem we have on the earth today. Above all other problems, the biggest one is ignorance, education. The people of the world are powerless to do anything. We can talk about all the corruption, but you can't do anything about it. You know, like in Chicago, you can rant and rave about Al Capone and how corrupted everything is, but you mess with him. You try and go out and do something against him and watch what happens. So you're free to talk. It's a free country. Talk all you want. You do something and you're going to get paid back real quick. You're going to find out where the real power is in this country. So as long as you're complaining, and I know that this has been told to me before, that the reason why we have radio talk shows and so many TV talk shows, I was told by military people, the reason why you have so much freedom to talk about anything you want on television and radio, we want to keep track on how stupid you are. We want to hear what the people are thinking. Yeah, tell us all about it. What are you thinking? Oh, well, I think this is that. That's what we thought you were thinking. Yeah. And so this way they kind of keep a pulse, keep a finger on the pulse of America. What are the Americans thinking? Well, let them talk.
That does make a
Yeah,
lot of
let them
sense.
talk. And so I said this in the beginning, that there's a very big difference between people hearing you and people listening to you.
Right.
And so if you got 1 million people listening, hearing you, So who cares? You get 1 million people listening to all kinds of shows. But if we see you show up in town and there's 1 million ardent followers of yours there,
With the pitchforks. and the
listening
fire.
to every word you're saying, and they are angry in the streets, now you are a political problem, and you will be dealt with accordingly.
Wow.
What's one of my investors into my network? He's a big time radio personality, and
Can you say his name?
no. But he said to me in front of some of our other hosts that he said that, and this goes back to your point, advertisers, they don't care if you have 1 million, they don't care if you have 3 million listeners. It's those 10,000 people, 20,000 people that react to what you say to go buy the product. They don't give a crap how many people. It's just how many people react to it.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Because if you're out there on the street talking about them and corruption, hell, everybody talks about corruption.
Right.
You know,
Everybody.
everybody knows. The kids will tell you how screwed up the system is.
Yeah.
But if you're actually, when giving a lecture, you get 10,000 people showing up, and there's unrest in the streets, civil unrest, on both sides. People who love you and people who think you're a devil, and there's all kinds of emotional and political unrest in the streets. Now the government has to look at that.
Okay.
This guy's a
Well,
this
then
guy
let me
knows
ask you
too
this.
much.
Okay, then let me ask you this, and then we'll get you out of here because I know you're a busy man. But Donald Trump gets elected, gets inaugurated. The day after, millions of people all over the world
Yeah.
protest. What do you think about that? Because now that's not just a few hundred.
But they're
people.
protesting him. They're not
But
with him, right?
But you know what I'm saying. There's
Of
still
course, of course.
there's a lot bigger than they probably even expected. So
Yeah.
what do you think about?
What was the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich? Newt Gingrich made an incredible comment just before he was actually elected, but when he was running, he was almost there. Newt Gingrich said, and it's on the web, and go listen to it yourself, he said, Washington, D.C. and the power boys, the power guys in Washington, D.C. are scared to death of Trump. Why? Because he's not a member of that secret society that runs America. He's not a member, and they're scared to death because he knows about it, and he's dealt with it, but now he's the president. So they've got some serious problems now because he's not a member of that quote secret society that runs America, end quote. So I thought that's one hell of a statement for us.
He's
Yeah.
not vacationing at Bohemian Grove for the summer.
Yeah,
You know,
not invited.
with his leotard and, you know. Well, this is incredible. What an honor for you to come on our show for the first time. And again, thank you for coming.
Yay!
Jordan Maxwell,
Lifetime Achievement
Lifetime
Award.
Achievement Award. And tomorrow we're going to give it to you. And
Well, thank you.
Incredible.
And I was going to say, I haven't even started.
No,
Yeah.
that's why you have to come back.
No, I'm gonna,
we'll come back. We'll come back.
I
So,
got plenty more. but
and
there's so many.
and people can follow you real quick. Where can people look up your
Yeah,
work?
just go on my website to Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW, very simple, jordanmaxwellshow.com. There are other websites out there with my name that are not mine. So
And
if
we'll-
you want to go to my website, jordanmaxwellshow.com.
And we'll put that in the link too,
Yeah,
so people
yeah.
can click on that. So
And on my website, you will see a banner that says Jordan Maxwell's Research Society website. It's a second website that I have on my Jordan Maxwell Show called Research Society. What it is, it's a new website that you can join. And because I have been told by my lawyer friends that in this country, government is empowered. We have government that is empowered to protect the people. And therefore, if you belong to a private organization like Ku Klux Klan or some private church or some group, and you can, by law, say anything you want about anybody using any kind of language you please, as long as your fellows in the organization don't mind. The government doesn't care. You can call other people, other races, and other people anything you want. If you're a member of that church or that group or that motorcycle gang or whatever, it's like going, and I was told, it's like going to a restaurant with 10 friends and you sit around talking about stuff. Well, what you guys are talking about at dinner has nothing to do with government. It's nobody else's business. That's your business what you talk about. If you use foul language and calling people names, hey, if everybody at the table don't care, what does the government care? It's private. Nobody cares. But if you go on the television or radio and say the same things you were saying at the dinner table, that's different. Because now you're talking to the public, and the government is empowered to protect the public from your kind of talk. Besides, they don't want you talking like that, because there's a lot of people out there may feel the same way, and tomorrow the government's got problems. So we keep your mouth shut.
As soon as we wrap this up, the expletives are going to fly. I can feel it's going to get racy in here.
So the point is that if you are talking in public, you can get in trouble for what you're saying. That's why I've been told by in Los Angeles, at my office, I had a very important newsman of one of the major networks, newsman, nightly anchor, come to visit me one day. And he told me, he said, you know, in order for me to be hired to be the anchor for the news, I had to sign an affidavit that said I am giving up my rights as a U.S. citizen, and that if I say anything that is not on the teleprompter, I can be arrested right there on the spot. In order for me to be allowed to be on, that was something I had to do for them to hire me, which means, he said, if whatever's on that teleprompter that I'm reading, and I know how it works, used to be you would see the news people talking and then they look up and they look down, but they don't do that anymore. They have now reflector glass on the camera. And there's a computer back here that's set up so it puts the words on that glass. But from the camera's point of view this way, it doesn't see it.
Right.
So they're looking right at you, and you're looking right at the teleprompter. And so this way you don't have to look like you're reading something. No, just read it right off the camera, and you're looking directly into the camera. So obviously this is from you. No, it's not from you. It's a teleprompter, and they're reading it on the glass. So the point being is, if you say anything that's not on that teleprompter that we told you to say, then you can be arrested. You can be arrested, and you have no rights. And arrest you at this very moment.
Well, Jordan, we might as well go into overtime at this point, so we're going to have you back. So we're going to have to cut it short and do a part 2. And thank you again for coming. And
thank you for having me.
So
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Truth
Thank
be
you very
told,
much.
Subscribe to this channel and get this message out. Share this video. I'm Dean Ryan for Tony Sweet, Captain Ron, and the great legendary Jordan Maxwell.
Thank you.
God bless America.
God bless America.